Welcome to Let's Face the Facts, the rewatch podcast for the classic sitcom, The Facts of Life. Join us each week as we synopsize, analyze, criticize, and ultimately idolize the show. And now, here's your host of Let's Face the Facts, the wonderful David Almeida.
Thank you, Matthew Arter. Welcome back. It's another week, another show. Thank you for downloading and pressing play. This week, Matthew and I welcome back our friend Angie Sardiña. She hasn't been on the show for over a couple of years. I'm really happy that we got her back. Always fun when she drops by. Angie joins us in examining Season 8, Episode 8, The Wedding Day, which had an original air date of November 22nd, 1986. That's all. We can jump right on in and start the show. Let's face the facts with Angie Sardiña. Welcome back, Angie Sardiña.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back. My gosh, when was it that I came in? 2019?
It's been a while. It was the pre-Matthew times of the podcast.
Yeah.
But you and Matthew know each other very well, for we have all worked together at the Citizens of Hollywood, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
It was the before times. It was before the show jumped the shark and I was a regular cast member.
Oh, no. Oh, bless. Yeah.
We're all regular cast members.
I like to call it the dark times of the Facts of Life podcast before.
Sorry.
But allow me to say this for this episode, Angie.
Oh,
hola, como está?
Oh, muy bien. Muchas gracias. I see you are working on your French, and I love it.
Very nice. Very nice. It was Matthew who said, wouldn't it be fun if we get Angie back here, because we have a gentleman of Latino heritage as the subject of this episode. And it gave us an excuse to contact you. You haven't been on the show since September of 2019.
I knew it was in 2019. I remember that. Yeah, that's crazy.
2.5 years. That is cray.
And we were in the dressing room, remember?
Yeah, one of them we did. Yes, one of them we did. That was the first one, Season 2, Episode 11, Sex Symbol. That was in June of 2019. That's the one where Natalie's reputation, Natalie, lets them think things about her and her reputation goes south. And that was the important lesson there. But the most recent time you were on, I think I had you here at the house. Have you been to my house?
You know what? But I think it was like we were going to do it and we never did. I can't remember. See,
or did we end up doing it at work? But that one was The Affair. That was where Natalie discovers her father is smooching on this other bitch.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes, I remember. I did listen back to our original one. And just to remind myself that you are a bit younger than Matthew and myself, but you did still grow up with the show in syndication, but not in the first run.
No, that's right. I was like, yeah, I definitely. What's the matter, Matthew? You look.
Why you got to throw that in there? Younger than me, Matthew and Michael. What? What? You could just spoke for yourself, David. You could just you are much younger than me.
This is like a Facts of Life episode right here.
Left me out of it. Oh.
Well, I just perceived that, Matthew, you and I enjoyed this show in its first run. Angie did not. Angie was born while it was already in progress. So that makes her much, much younger than you and me.
Well, I'm happy to be here if you're going to give me that kind of welcoming.
I think it was important for you to be here, Angie, because we needed a Latina voice, and I'm just happy it was yours, because this is a very political episode, I think.
Yikes, here we go. Yikes. Mm-hmm. Ooh, yep. I don't know how crazy I'm going to get, you guys. You remember, I grew up Cuban, so views are a little different.
We want to get all of the crazy, all of the Cuban, all of the everythings. That's what we want from you for this show. If you've got it, bring it, girl.
Oh my gosh, crazy. I wouldn't call myself cute. I am Cuban American. I was born in the United States. I'm first generation. But my parents' story is quite deep within. So I will do what I can. But they were political refugees. So this is going to be a little different.
Oh, very different. Okay, so a different journey. We're about to discuss season 8, episode 8, called The Wedding Day, which had an original air date of November 22nd, 1986. Doing a little bit of nuts and bolts before we get into the microscopic dissection. The story is by Shirley Brown. The teleplay is by Ross Brown and Michael Porries. I'm going to say Porys. He must be a Latine gentleman, as is now the new politically correct term. And his last name is pronounced Porries.
Porries.
Spanish for yes.
It could be Spanish for fuck yes. Did you get a look at this motherfucker? Oh. My God. I'd have done way more than married him. Oh my God.
Yes. I'd have been like 2 years. It's like, then do you have to leave after 2 years? We got to really pretend and convince them that we're married, if you know what I'm talking about.
I know. And that's why, and I don't know if y'all have talked about this on the show, but that's why I was like, Joe, are you just not attracted to the gentleman for a specific reason? What's happening here? Because it's a very good-looking individual, and I don't think I would have minded being like, yes.
Cue Matthew and David putting their fingers up to their cheeks and going, That's the diesel engine horn, is the sound that he made. Yes, we will be talking about that too, man. Now, I don't know if our story lady, Shirley Brown, is related to Ross Brown, who wrote the teleplay. I can't find much about either of them on the web as far as they're not like a writing team credited as such. So let's just assume that they are separate and individual people, independent of one another. Shirley Brown, who wrote the story, not the teleplay, this is only one of 3 credits on her IMDb page. That's it.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
3 credits. This and 2 episodes of What's Happening Now.
Oh, no kidding. Really?
And What's Happening Now, which I'd forgotten, was the return of the original series. I thought it was like Aftermath. I thought it was a continuation. What's Happening ran from 76 to 79 on ABC, 65 episodes. What's Happening Now was first run syndication. That didn't start till 85. And it ran 85 to 88, 66 episodes. So just as long a run and 1 episode more. So now our screenplay, teleplay writers. Ross Brown, he just wrote his first script. This is his second of 7. The first script was last week, The Ratings Game. And we talk about him a bit last week. Next season, he's going to become a producer for all of the episodes through the end of the series. And Michael Porries, this is his first script of 5 that he'll be writing between now and the end of the series. And he will go on to write for Saved by the Bell and create 2 shows for the Disney Channel that you might have heard of. Hannah Montana and That's So Raven.
What? Wow.
Yeah. So he goes on to create 2 very, very popular, well-known shows.
Wow.
And this was directed by John Boab, the in-house director. He's been doing pretty much every episode since season 6, or, the majority of the episodes. And that's your nuts and bolts. So Angie, next in the lineup of the show is where we like to put our guest on the spot. And ask you to please provide a short 1 to 2 sentence synopsis of the entire episode, similar to a listing you might find in TV Guide. And if it is too long, Matthew will judge you. No pressure. Go.
In this episode, Joe has the opportunity to help a very handsome friend possibly stay here for good in America, or go back behind bars. Over to where they first crawled out from their homes. Join us in this episode and see what happens on the Facts of Life. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Jesus Cristo, that was the long one.
It's a very long one. I thought to myself, how could I make Matthew Arter squirm any more in his chair as he watched me take my time like a monologue delivered on stage by an actor who likes to hear his own voice.
You nailed it, girl. Nailed it.
That was good.
All right. Are we ready for our microscopic dissection?
Let's do it. I'm ready. I also have this gentleman's photo up and his biography up on IMDb. And
we are going to be talking about him. Oh, that's for sure. All right, kids, let's get to it. We start in the store in Over Our Heads. So, Angie, the show's changed a little bit since you were last here. What is your first instinct response to the very, very different show you found yourself watching?
Well, first of all, it's not, it's Loris Leachman, right?
Cloris.
Loris Leachman. And I was like, I don't remember her, like, because she wasn't on the show last time. And then I forgot, also, this is totally random, but I thought, wow, I forgot when she had that short hair. Also,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then I was like, look at the girls, they're all grown up and they're still living together.
and sleeping in the same bedroom. Yeah. Not weird at all. Not weird at all.
When she goes up the stairs and they follow her, I'm like, what? Are we in a college dorm? What's going on? Like, I was so confused. I was like, what's happening right now? What's happening now?
What's happening now? I see what you did. Call back. I'm slow. So in the store, we have Blair and Natalie. Blair brings out a tray of bracelets and Natalie makes a comment that they're nice. And she says, maybe I should buy one for Snake. And Blair says, that guy you're dating who works on the road crew. And Natalie says, yeah, we'll match his earring.
Yeah.
A dude with an earring. What a rebel.
I forgot about that kind of thing,
Well, I bring it up, Angie, because in the recent weeks, we've been having a lot of references to Snake, that being this boy that Natalie has been dating. And he's going to be playing a very important role in the series next season, because, there's the episode where Natalie loses her virginity. Guess to whom? Snake.
She loses her virginity to an individual named Snake.
Yeah, little on the nose.
I didn't think Natalie would be the kind, but good for you, girl.
Yeah, and we've talked already about when they introduced the idea that, I think they just thought that they were going to create this mythological creature and then leave it at that. But I think they realized they got a lot more mileage out of these jokes where, like, well, let's say that he, lays out the tar. So he's a tough guy. And now he's got an earring and that type of thing. But we're like, really, though? The name Snake. How do you not call someone Snake without bringing up images of snake in the grass, as in a villain, an evil person, or Snake as in a guy with a big old dong?
And I actually pictured him like a motorcycle guy, like a motorcycle dude.
Yeah.
I was like, good for you, Natalie.
And that would be great if that was the thing and he had like a snake tattoo going around his arm or something. But you know who ends up playing him when we finally meet Snake?
Yeah. It's like, wah, wah.
It's Robert Romanus. It's the guy from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Like,
ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, you are just barely in the fuckable range of teen heartthrobs. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. That's I'd rather walk in my lips than be judgmental or have an opinion about anything. But
that's really funny.
Anyway, I wanted to bring up that Snake is mentioned yet again. I think this might be the third week in a row now. There's a lot of we got a lot of Snake going on here on the Facts of Life.
Well, there are a lot of ladies, so.
A lot of Snake to go around.
Yeah.
So then into the store enters George Clooney. It's like the girls are like, hey, how you doing? Where you been keeping yourself? It's like, yeah, it's episode 8 and you haven't been on all season. Where the fuck did you go? You were in the opening credits last season. You've abandoned us.
Was he doing ER or Roseanne? What was he doing at the time?
Neither. I did look up the timeline to see, And he had done a sitcom called ER, not the drama that later happened, but it was a sitcom with Elliot Gould. That was 84 to 85. So that was the year before this. And Roseanne doesn't start till 88. So he just was in the middle of doing odd movies and television appearances. Probably had him doing a lot of pilots because they were still trying to find a vehicle for him.
Yeah.
So I'll bet you it's a lot of pilots that never saw the light of day.
Well,
his hair is shorter. His mullet is less mullety. It's darker, more mature, and damn, just as sexy, huh?
well, he always looks good, you know?
Did you remember he was on the show?
I completely forgot he was on it. Totally.
Yeah, because literally they haven't seen him since they went on break between season 7 and 8. He hasn't been on yet this season. So it's kind of like, yeah, where have you been, dude? But his response, his excuse for not being around is that he's been busy doing construction on a new apartment building. And then Joe enters with a picnic basket. And they're like, picnic basket? You going on a picnic? And she says, yeah, I'm going to be tutoring Enrico with his English today.
Yeah.
And then we have a chunk of dialogue that was cut from the syndicated version that probably you did not get to see, Angie.
Which is?
Somebody comments that the food smells great. And someone says, Joe, don't tell me you actually made fried chicken. And Joe says, yes, I made it. Enrico told me he had never had homemade chicken before. Okay.
A Latin person has never had homemade pollo before. Okay.
Not even pan fried? Okay, deep fried maybe, like Southern style, but
I mean, like, yeah, it's like bistec empanizado and stuff like that, but like it's bistec de pollo empanizado, which is like, yeah, like the chicken breast. Well, what I mean is that like it wasn't usually on the like on the bone, but it is funny because I was like, oh yeah, actually I never had it, like unless I was being treated somewhere else.
Well, it's weird that they say he's never had homemade chicken before. It'd be one thing to say he's never had home fried chicken, like, standard or Southern. He's never had Southern fried chicken type of thing. That would be a better line there for that.
That's probably a better choice of words. Yeah.
Yeah. But then the conversation continues among the girls. Joe Polnicek cooking, going a little overboard, aren't we? And her response is, oh, come on. All he and George ever eat at the construction site is junk food. So ding, ding, George and he work together in the construction. And Joe says, so I promised him I'd make him something special. And then Blair, particularly, is the one drawing attention to this, saying, seems like you two have been spending an awful lot of time together. And she says that he needs it. English is a very difficult language to learn. And Blair responds with, yes, look how long it took you. Ha ha! But then it just seems strange that all of your tutoring lessons to teach him English better take place at a concert or a movie or intimate walks along the Hudson. And Joe is like, no. And she says, actually, it's usually just the three of us just hanging out together, meaning George is also there. Somebody does say, it's okay, George. We all like Enrico. If Joe's got something going with him, that's great. And Joe's like, would you guys give me a break? Come on. He's a nice guy who's trying hard to make something of himself, and I admire him for it. We're just good friends. That's all. So a lot of Joe vehemently denying there's anything romantical going on here. But
that was my first problem. It's like, Joe, you're setting yourself up for this. Oh, we're just going on a picnic why aren't you meeting him at the library? Why aren't you sitting at your desk? Don't get all offended when somebody's like, this seems romantic, as you're fucking cooking chicken for 2 hours and then planning a picnic with this hot piece of ass.
Yeah.
And then he walks in and you're like, what? You are telling me you are not trying to get into this guy's pants. What the fuck is wrong with you, girl?
Wow.
Well, and the thing is like, if she's trying to sell the fact that she's going to get married to the guy, so they're pretending to like be romantically involved, then you should like set it up that way, even in your own home. Don't you think? Like, I was like, what? I'm so confused. Like, what's happening, you fool? Like,
well, that's the thing. I'm not sure I ever could credit the show with being this subtle, but is it the fact that, I mean, the news of the wedding, which is coming up, does come very quickly after this, like within a day or two, if not the same day. So is it that she's doing all this and denying it because this is all part of the charade that we have to have people look at it? But here's the thing. Number one, I'm going to say it at the end of the episode. Why isn't this a potential romantic interest for Joe? Wouldn't that have upped the stakes a lot more?
But that's why I wonder, I don't know if you all have had this conversation in other episodes. Is she interested in men, or is she interested?
No, okay. Joe is allegedly heterosexual. She does marry a man next season.
Oh, okay. See, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah. Okay. So no, there's no the question of the lesbianism floating in the air, other than in our, imaginations. If this was really, and we're getting far ahead of ourselves, but the episode is about Joe is going to offer to marry him so he can get his green card, is what's happening here. And so it's like, if this was supposed to be a ruse that you were going to put up for whatever reason, it's like, I guess because she doesn't know about the 2-year thing. She thinks that it's going to be a couple of days. But it's like, why didn't she just say, yeah, we are dating? And have him and her say, okay, we're just friends, but we're just going to tell everyone that we're dating. And then we're going to get married. No one has to know about it, but we'll still be friends. Yeah. That way we are still interacting with each other. And to the outside viewers who don't know what's really going on, they just think that they've been going out a while. They're maybe getting serious. And then they're going to break up. It seems like they could have planned it better for the people close to them.
They're always so open with each other about stuff that I was like, what, how is this like only between her and George? Does that start showing like, do they distance themselves? I don't remember these episodes, so I'm like, is this like showing, do you know what I mean?
It's
I was like,
always weird when the girls keep something from each other. It is always weird, and we always question it.
Well, I guess it happens, right? I think that's just part of being a human and growing up. So maybe that's just it. But I was like, especially, okay, well, we'll talk about it, I'm sure. But it's just that whole thing. I was like, I don't understand why she didn't continue the lie at the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or at the very least, why, if this was such a not a big deal, hey, George's friend needs me to do this, it's going to be a couple of days. You know what? Maybe if you told your girlfriends, one of them might have picked up the phone and done a little research on your behalf, and you would have known it wasn't going to be a fucking 2-day commitment. They could have helped you, girl, not get into this jam.
Yeah.
But that's another story. Let's talk about Enrico.
Oh my God. Jesus Garcia.
It's weird because it's JSU. It's 3 letters, which looks like it is an abbreviation for his birth name, which is Jesus. But it looks like the JSU was pronounced Jesus. And that could be
Jesus. His name is Jesus Garcia. Good Lord.
Jesus. Oh my gosh. Jesus. He is credited here, though, with the name Nick Corri, Corri, which is a more Italian-looking name, which was probably a definitely tactical move from a casting standpoint, as opposed to having the name Jesus Garcia.
Right.
Sometimes he's also been credited as Tom Fox. And I'd like to say, yes, Tom, you are a fox.
That sounds like a porn name. Like that was his name. That was his name in certain direct-to-video releases.
Let's talk about a different episode.
Yeah. And that is how he was credited on Fame in 1982, which was one of his first jobs on the TV show Fame.
No way.
And under the name Rick Corri, you may recognize and remember him. He was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I saw that.
In 1984, alongside Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what? Now I gotta rewatch that for sure.
So yeah, and he is just so handsome and cute and sweet and nice, perfectly cast. I think Joe made a big ass mistake. I just said, girl, 2 years, you could have been, damn.
Yeah, you could have been making chicken for a long time.
Exactly. You could have been working with pollo and some polla.
I was gonna say, and giving up your boyo.
Yeah.
Nasty word. Sorry.
Polla. That's the Spanish word for cock, isn't it?
Oh, no, boyo it's pussy.
Well, yeah. What's the word?
It's the Spanish word for cunt, David. I'm surprised you don't notice that.
You know what's fun?
But no, in some circles, isn't polla also the word for cock?
Maybe, I don't know. I just know it as my own.
I swear. I mean, maybe it's Spanish.
Well, I think that's why I think like it makes me laugh because pollo, right? Chicken. And then you say the wrong consonant and it's a totally different word, you know? So I'm always like, you guys be careful. Make sure you pronounce the P as in Paul.
Yeah.
When people are trying to learn all these words, just know if you mispronounce it, it'll mean something different.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, he's a very handsome guy.
Papi chulo.
I mean, he's super and just so sweet throughout the episode as well. He's like really
nice.
Yeah, like I mean, I want to jump to the end because I think my favorite part was the end with the music, but you know.
It was nice.
My favorite part was when he entered ass first in those jeans.
Oh, that's right. He did ass first.
I paused the DVD to look at his. I must have watched his entrance about 10 times because the way he backed that ass into that scene, I was like, bitch, I will marry you today.
Oh my God. Boy, you look good once you back that ass up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to continue talking about Mr. Garcia, he's still out there. He is 58 years old. He has 72 acting credits, still working. His parents, Angie, immigrants from Cuba.
No, get out of here. This is what I'm trying to find and I can't find it.
Do you know him? Do all you people know each other?
God, do you know that's well, so that's crazy. His parents are from Cuba. I cannot see this guy's life information. Are you on Wikipedia? Where are you?
It was between IMDb and Wikipedia, one of the two.
He was in a movie where he plays Che Guevara.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
It's The Lost City with Andy Garcia. And actually, I always recommend this movie so that people can kind of understand, like, it's really beautiful the way they showed the different ways that you could go when all that stuff was happening in Cuba, when Fidel was taking over and stuff. And he played Che Guevara. That's crazy. I'm trying to find, though, his family story. Like, how did they get here? Like, what? I don't know where that is.
There's not a lot there other than it just says his parents were immigrants from Cuba. Now, in more recent years, he has become an ordained minister in the movement of spiritual inner awareness, founded by John Roger. I was looking this up. It's go to Wikipedia. We don't need to spend any time here. It's just an alternate religious group with a certain set of beliefs that are kind of, new agey, meditation based and stuff like that. But as a result of his spiritual deepening, awakening, he has been in recent years producing, writing, and directing religious themed documentary shorts.
Okay.
So, yeah. But he's 58 years old. I'm like, I'm sure he's probably, I'd still hit that.
I wonder if he's
don't even know what he looks like. I'd hit it.
I wonder if he's like a super silver fox now, right? I could totally see that. Can you imagine? Woof.
Oh my God. Couldn't even.
Nice.
Couldn't even.
Gosh, I kind of want to, and now I got to find this guy, I want to see what the gentleman looks like. Oye, Jesus.
Well, during the previous exchange about how Joe is not romantically interested or involved with Enrico, we hear a motorcycle pull up, and he does enter backwards to all of our delights, give us a nice view of his, I believe the word would be his culo. Is that the word you people use?
Yes, that is a very, yes, that's a much stronger word, but yes, he does back that culo up.
Is it also not sometimes pronounced chulo?
Well, he is un chulo, and especially
because
chulo means something different than butt, right?
That's why I said he's un chulo, like he's cute, he's handsome, but like with that culo, chulo and culo, they just
culo chulo, which is like little cutie pie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he is un chulo con un culo.
Yep, nice chulo and culo. Yeah. So he comes in, and the entrance of him is him screaming, Estúpido pedazo de yonke.
I know. I was like, Jesus.
I was like, okay, wow. All right. That's an entrance line. What does that mean, Angie?
Estúpido is stupid. And what was it? Estúpido?
Pedazo de yonke.
Piece of yonke. I don't know what yonke is. Is it
I think you pronounce it jonke. Junk.
Oh, junk. I sorry. I heard yonke. I was like, is that
yonke. But I think it's written with a Y.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Like,
it's written with a Y, but in some it's pronounced jonke, depending on dialect and things like that. Yeah. So he's mad at his bike because his bike has been acting up, and Joe has been helping him with fixing up his bike, but he says it doesn't seem to run. If Joe isn't there, the bike doesn't run good.
That's right.
And Joe says, well, and he pauses and says, well, what? And she's like, no, the bike doesn't run well. She's correcting his English. Yeah. And this is a running thing throughout with her correcting his English.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, how can they not think, that she's dating the guy? I mean, not that women do that to their boyfriends or anything like that, or it's a usual like correcting others, but just the way, she comes in with a picnic basket. She's all like, turning him into something. Do you know what I mean? I was like, how are you not?
Yeah. But, we come to learn that he likes the discipline. So we learn later that he likes that. So any hoozle, they go off to the picnic, and George goes with them too, even though they continue to deny it. And the last word is kind of Blair saying there's something going on there, even though George is denying it. I think there's something going on there.
But Blair is so metida. You know that? She is so metida en todo. Like, she gets in the middle of everything. It's like, girl, Jesus, Blair.
What is that word? Did you say metida? M-E-T-I-D-A?
Yeah, like in the middle of it, metida. En todo.
Oh, okay.
Middle of everything. It's like, okay, God, I know so many girls like that. I'm like my mom's like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's a word I didn't know. Metida. That's a good one.
Like,
I like it.
Metida is just like, metido en el medio, in the middle. Like,
like being a busybody.
Meddlesome.
Like she's just totally in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
But I guess that happens with a bunch of women living in the same house in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can they not speculate?
True. Exactly.
I loved when when she goes, "Que pasa, Beverly?" And she goes, "Everything's pasta just fine, thank you." I love Cloris Leachman's line there.
That is cute.
I do love that she said that. I think it just lightens up with makes everything lighter and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, it is, people sometimes don't understand what's being said, and it's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I kind of love that they put that there. You know what I'm saying?
It's nice.
Yeah.
So then the next scene, we're in the living room, and the phone rings.
Here comes Tootie in a fucking cowboy hat, and I'm out. Coming down the stairs with a fucking cowboy hat on. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
She's a rhinestone cowgirl. That was very popular at the time, Matthew.
I'm sure it was, but not just sitting around your house with your fucking cowboy hat on. Like, girl, okay. I know the 80s. We're trying to show off some fashion and everything, but we're sitting around at home, for God's sake. I'm not sitting there in my full blue suit, heels, and fucking shades of the Golden Girls sitting around in their sweaters in the middle of August in Miami. But
I love that they did an episode about this, because I think it's that was a big thing, wasn't it? Like, that was happening suddenly. Like, people were getting married and trying to stay in the country and stuff like that. So it's good that they put that there.
Yeah, I don't remember much about immigration specifically in the 80s. Not like it's been more in more recent years. But hey, this is a show that kind of always tried to deal with issues and things, and this was one they hadn't tackled yet. So why the fuck not?
Yeah.
So in the living room, Tootie does have that on. Beverly Ann is sitting at the desk. Tootie and Natalie are counting money from a cash box at the dining room table. Of course, Joe is out. She's about to come in. Blair is sitting on the couch. What's my next question, Matthew?
Who's minding the store?
Thank you. They run a fucking business. Why is everyone just sitting around?
That's fine.
So then ring on the phone. Blair answers the phone and she's quite shocked at the news that is given when she hangs up.
Like how are they going to speculate at this point? I was like, what? I didn't expect. That was like, whoa. I didn't expect them to say that on the Facts of Life.
Blair hangs up the phone and says that was Joe's doctor saying her blood test was fine so she can go ahead and get married.
Yeah.
The days of when a doctor would just tell random strangers your fucking medical history just over the phone.
Holy shit, man. I was like,
hey, could you tell Joe she's got AIDS? That'd be great.
When Blair found out her mother has breast cancer because the doctor calls her and tells her, and I swear to God, this was a teachable moment for me. When I had Logan Donahue on, Logan has been somewhat of an activist throughout the 80s and 90s. And I said, okay, so we're just going to violate HIPAA laws here and just tell somebody's private medical information. And Logan went, David, you do realize HIPAA is a Clinton era thing, legislation. It wasn't until the 90s that doctors were sworn to secrecy. I was like, no. It was like the 50s or 60s. What he's like, no, what you are watching on this episode, that doctor telling this random lady, it wasn't even, well, this is Blair. I'm her common law wife, you know, it's like just the, hey, random stranger, here's private stuff. That was perfectly legal and acceptable in the medical profession.
Boy, I'm glad that changed when I was in my teenage years.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Matthew, too, when how many visits to the free clinic he's talked about.
Oh, girl, I had my own parking spot.
Oh, my God. I remember. Yeah. Well, that's for another time when I start drinking again, boys.
Blair is like, oh, I called this one. They're going to elope. And they're like, well, why would she not tell us anything? And at one point, I think it's Natalie says, did that doctor say anything about a rabbit?
Oh, that's right.
Hilarious. Right. Rabbit test was still a thing in the 80s. Again, it's like, when did we stop killing animals? When did we, what the fuck, man? So then Joe shows up and they're like, so did you have a nice picnic? There's this lovely moment where they all know. And Joe was like, what's going on? And Blair's like, oh, the doctor called and said that the blood test was good and you get married. And Joe just goes, oh, okay, good. Thanks. And then she goes upstairs. They all chase out. They're all like, what the fucking fuck? And they chase her up there. It's a very funny moment where it's like, no, you are so not going to get away with that.
Yeah. And then you see that they're in a bedroom with freaking a gajillion beds. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. And this is where they've cut it back. They used to have 4 beds in this room, Angie. There's actually a door upstage that goes to another little sub room within the room that has 2 beds. Tootie and Natalie live in the inner room. Only Blair and Joe live in this outer room.
How big is this house?
What? Your guess is as good as mine.
I mean, damn, what are they doing to run, like to have a house like that? You know what I'm saying? If nobody's manning the store, then who the hell's paying for the house?
Puzzling.
These are questions we don't ask here, Angie. These are questions we don't ask.
Because there are no answers. So up in the bedroom, Joe spills the beans. Enrico is an illegal alien. His dad got sick, so he had to quit school to go to work, and then his student visa lapsed. So if he marries an American, he can stay in the country. She thought she'd do him a solid, marry him. It's only going to be a couple of days, then they'll get a divorce. It'll be fine. And the girls are like, okay, that sounds okay, I guess. Wow. It just seems like there should be something more complicated or difficult about this plot.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have kept that from us.
Yeah. But Joe says she's thought it through, clearly didn't make a phone call or anything. She's just thought about it in her brain, but didn't ask any questions of anybody. But it's already set up. It's going to be happening next week.
David, they have the whole bit about there's going to be a marriage, but what about etc.? And then Natalie says, what's a marriage without etc.? Like they address the fact that they're not going to do it by calling it etc. And I would also like to say that it's amazing how in this time period, I'm going to talk about how woke I am now.
Oh, please do. Please.
In the fact that when she said illegal alien, I was like, like it just hurt me a little bit. Like it's almost like when we used to watch it in the episode where they use the R word to describe that man who's mentally challenged and, you know, handicapped, all these words that just hit you different now. And it's like, she said, he's an illegal alien. And I went, that hurt me a little bit.
What is the, Matthew? So please, and woken the rest of us, what would the term be? Undocumented? How do you say?
Undocumented is a more appropriate word.
But it sounds like there are documents. It sounds like there's plenty of documentation that he had a student visa and it lapsed because he had to quit school. That doesn't sound undocumented. That's why I asked. I wondered if there was even still a more appropriate word, but sadly, our culture has not evolved to the point where you are.
Definitely not. I mean, come on, not at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so I remember that's funny. That just triggered a memory. And I was like, I forgot that memory, that I remember finding my mom's resident alien card and being like,
my mother's an alien. Woo!
No, but like in the way that Matthew said it, not like I didn't understand what that was. I was just like, oh my God, what? Not mommy. Like that's like, I remember that. How fucked up is that? Like even my own mom, I'm like, how dare you?
So yes, with them hearing the doorbell, descending the stairs, they answer the door. It's Enrico and George, and there's a problem. There's been an INS agent asking around at work. They think it might be prudent to move the wedding date up. And Joe was like, let's do it. I got the clear from the doctor. Let's go to City Hall tomorrow, 9 a.m. first thing. So the girls jump in, swoop in really, and say, City Hall, you can't just get married at City Hall. Tell you what, it makes for a better episode of a sitcom if we try to do a makeshift wedding that we have to plan here at home on short notice. And I started to lose my fucking mind because we had already been doing this before with Mrs. Garrett and all that stuff that had already happened. But it was, I believe, Blair who says, if you're going to try to present that this is a real marriage, it does look better if you do something here that's a little more formal and we'll help you plan it. And so Joe was like, okay. So they got to get busy. Let's do it. Break, team. And the last word of the scene is Joe says, I'm not wearing lace or anything stupid in my hair. Rotate wipe 2. Joe standing there with flowers in her hair and Beverly Ann putting some finishing touches on the hem of a lace wedding dress.
You know, I got to tell you, sometimes I'm like, why do they put, I mean, obviously they're going to do this, but I'm like, gosh, she's such a beautiful girl. Why would you make it seem like it's such a terrible thing to see her in a dress? You know what I'm saying?
And this is a good hair episode for her too. Her hair, her fucking mullet, the volume and size and symmetry and support system. This is a great hair episode for Nancy McKeon.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. Why would you especially put her in that dress?
I know.
For God's sake. And Diana, I love you, but this was, she looked enormous, first of all. She looked as wide as the fucking CinemaScope movie. And, oh, God bless her heart. And that cut up, oh, God.
It was definitely the cut that I was like, yikes.
The uneven hem that was shorter in the front and longer in the mid. It's like, ugh.
But you know, to think that like, I know they did it because it was like a quick wedding and stuff like that, but it just made me laugh thinking about all the wedding dresses that like when I was a kid walking certain weddings and like what I had to wear and what and then like still seeing pictures of like these huge puffy sleeves and all this shit. I was like, wow, dude.
80s weddings with those, like the bride in a hat or something like that.
The lace hat with
my God, just awful. And rainbow weddings when Jesus
like the band, the side, like it's all.
It looked to me like a Mama's Family dress.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, that they made out of the curtains in 20 minutes.
Like the shape of it. I was like, Thelma Harper should be wearing that on Mama's Family for her wedding.
Yes. Oh
but
my gosh.
Matthew referenced, he said the name Diana earlier. Angie, Matthew and I are close personal friends with the woman who was the costumer for the show.
Get out of here. Seriously? That's hilarious.
She wrote a memoir and her people found us, and we've been continuing correspondence with her and asking about certain episodes. This isn't one we contacted her about, but Matthew, I'm going to counter your thoughts on this dress as saying maybe it was intentional because this wedding was already ill-fated, because it was ill-conceived, and everything was already going to go wrong anyway. Maybe it was an intentional choice to say, well, we have to have her in the ugliest dress we can find. We have to have, the cake that's warped and where the frosting is smeared. You know what I mean? You think that might have been a conscious choice?
I mean, okay.
It doesn't make it any less hideous.
I mean, if that were the case, then I wouldn't have used the line from Beverly Ann where she said, "This dress made my grandmother very happy." Like, really? Your grandmother was happy when she saw that dress? Like, implying that for some reason Beverly Ann had moved from Wisconsin to Peekskill with her grandmother's wedding dress in tow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I do have that as a note as well. Yeah. Anyhow, everything is moving along very quickly. Beverly Ann looks great. She is in a pink blouse and a pink pencil skirt, a long cardigan with some pearls. It's flattering. It's lovely. We've got an episode coming up where she's supposed to be dressed up for a date, and it looks like they've got her in a red potato sack. I'm like, why didn't they put her in something like this? She looks great. Yeah. I didn't even pay attention to what the others were wearing.
Judy was wearing a blue cowboy hat with sequins on the front of it. And but this is when I started to get, like, when they're all set up for the wedding, I was like, okay, I get like the point of what you're saying as far as like, we should put on something that looks more intimate than a city hall wedding, which looks fat, slam bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
But no one is seeing it. It's in your living room.
It's just you guys.
Like
you have to be all dressed up in case somebody barges in.
Da, da, da.
What barging in? What is that? What are you talking about? Maybe Arnold Jensen from Immigration?
Boy, I sure am glad I wore that cowboy hat.
Oh my God. This character, the actor is Robert Phelan, playing the immigration agent. 65 credits in only a 20-year career, and it seems to stop in 1994, but it doesn't say that he passed away suddenly or unexpectedly. That's really weird. But Robert Phelan might be recognizable to people because he played Dr. Terrence Wynn in the original Halloween, which means he was in a movie with our friend, John Graham. I think he was John Michael Graham in that. But yeah, so we are only 2 degrees away from this actor. It's written not very well. He's kind of a mustache twirler. And so he's just kind of saying his lines like, I'm clearly the bad guy here.
Yeah, it's bad.
And it's weird because he's like, they're like, you're interrupting and this is private. And who the fuck are you? And he's like, and when he says, I think I'll stick around. And they're like, well, okay, we're putting on this show anyway. And we didn't have an audience. I guess may as well put on the show for you. But listen, it is weird that they don't say, no, get the fuck out of our house. Who are you?
But yeah, there they were. They let him in. He had first row to the lovely wedding. And
I just wish, because spoiler alert, later on, he's going to spill the beans about how he's like, I don't have the heart for this anymore. And like, So then why did you come in here? Like, why didn't you write the character so he was like kind of like a baddie, like kind of flighty, like a little bit more kind of like, I don't know. The way he came in and was such a jerk right off the bat, like you said, I would have been like, no, you can sit out in your car.
Yeah, just such arrogance and bluster. It would have been interesting if he was like wishy-washy or something like that. Or, that would have been a much more interesting choice.
Like to see him at the end of the thing being like, I can't do this anymore. You know, like,
right.
Sure, totally.
Which you would expect from a show at that time, in my opinion, right? So which is kind of that they just had the whole time. I was like, yikes, dude, this guy's a douche.
So he does let it slip. Not really. He makes it very clear to Natalie, who is not up in the ceremony. Natalie is standing back to take a picture. And he's like, I'm just here to make sure that this is all in the up and up. So the girls are kind of like, well, I always cry at weddings. And Natalie's like, yeah, isn't it great to see two people who choose to spend their whole lives together? And he says, yeah, I guess the 2 years won't matter then. And she's like, the who did what and the where now? And he says, well, he can't apply for citizenship for 2 years. And in the meantime, they have to be a married couple and we check up on them to make sure. So suddenly this Joe, a couple of day commitment, it's like, okay, girl, I think you missed something. And George and Enrico, thanks for the help with not getting very important information pulled together before you make this kind of a fucking leap.
Well, do you think they did that on purpose?
No, I do not.
Like, do you think they just made it seem like, oh, they really didn't know, or like they're lying to Joe about that?
Well, the romantic ending that is supposed to not be romantic could almost imply that it was him trying to trap Joe, but I perceive him as being too nice a guy.
Well, he is an illegal alien, David. Mm-hmm.
And he is one of those Cuban types, you know.
You can't trust them. They're evil. But yeah, like, I think it's I just thought, I was like, how did you guys not fucking know that? What is the rule now? Does it matter now? I don't know. I don't even know. Like, is there?
I think it is the same. It's so funny. My knowledge of this, when Joe said it's only going to be a couple of days, I first thought to myself, it's like a couple of years, isn't it? And I think I learned that on Will and Grace, because to keep Rosario, Karen's maid, from being sent back to El Salvador, she marries Jack, the super gay best friend sidekick, and that was a running thing on Will and Grace, that they were having to dodge immigration for that to keep her here. But it was 2 years that they had to.
Never mind that Joe is the valedictorian of Langley College when they graduate, so she's not an idiot.
So, she clearly knows how to make a phone call or take out a library book. Jesus.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, what? How did she not know this? Like, that's so bizarre. Like, could you have written something a little better than that? Like, sorry. Like, but it was just like, why did you go that route? That's such a weird, it just didn't make any sense that they went that
Even
route.
if it was, the laws have changed recently because of so many people trying to pull a scam on us or something.
Well, I was asked maybe a few months ago to do that. And they were like, and they'll pay
so that you could stay in the country.
Yes, so I can stay in the country. Oh gosh, here it is.
Oops, revelation.
It's here on this podcast. I'm announcing it for the very first time.
Yep. Thank God no one listens to it.
Yeah, like so.
But no, you were asked to do a marriage of convenience to get someone their green card.
And it was like something like they'll pay you super well and this and that. Like, I totally thought about it. I'm not gonna fucking lie. I was like, that sounds pretty good. And
you're like, that sounds like I could call it an acting job. And I need work since I am a professional actress.
It's quite the role. I believe this is. I will consider it, talk to my agent about it. But it was just like, I can't believe it's, and actually my first husband was from Peru, and he was in the military, And we had gotten married. No, we didn't get married for that reason. But when we got married, I remember thinking like it had been a couple of years, and I was like, can he get his citizenship already? Because even the military hadn't given him his citizenship, and he had gone to Iraq. Believe that shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And it took forever. I mean, it really took a long time for him to get a citizenship. And it, to me, it was like, what the fuck? Like, it was such a wild shit like that you're like,
but we'll send you over to fight in our fucking wars, but not, don't.
So it's a thing that like, I see why people do it when they're so desperate. And like, even if you're serving, for example, like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the things where I'm not saying, come on in, everybody. But I do understand the I can't imagine the desperation.
Yeah.
But I do kind of understand when people are like, I just want to help my friend. They're cool. They're good people. It's, you know.
Yeah. And like you were saying, helping your mother study. From what I hear, like the entrance exam, it's Matthew and I could not pass that test if we were given that test right now.
Yeah.
In terms of, the things you have to know about our government. And I hear it's crazy difficult and irrational.
That was probably when I feel like I was in, God, I can't remember. I think I was like in middle school at the time. And so I was just like, I can't imagine how much it is now. Cause I'm like, I don't know most of this shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Damn. I mean, I'm happy to be an American, but gosh, I don't know most of this shit. You know what I mean? It's wild, dude.
So the wedding is paused and Beverly Ann appeals to the INS agent to wait before he takes Enrico away because they're just still working some shit out. And that's where he says, I'll be outside in my car. No funny stuff. I'll give you an hour. And this is where he says, how does he put it?
He says he doesn't have the heart for this anymore or something like that.
Yeah, something to that effect. So then the girls have to think about what they're going to do. And of course, Joe was like, I can't go through with this. And they're like, of course you can't. So she goes down to him and they have this exchange is so sweet where she starts to say, Enrico, and he says, you don't have to say anything. He says, I know, I understand you can't marry me under that case. And she says, in that case, sorry. And he says, I like it when you correct me. It shows you care. And then she says she's sorry. He says he's sorry. Thanks her for being a true friend. And then a little bit that's cut from syndication. So Angie, you didn't even see this. He says, Joe, if someone had told me that yesterday was going to be our last time together, I would have still chosen to go on the picnic with you. And she says, even though you sat in the potato salad, and he says, well, maybe not that part. And he says, but I will miss everything else. And then she says, what are you going to do? And he says, what else? Run. But before I do, I have a request. Perhaps it's only because you look so beautiful in that dress. Really? That dress? Really? That's what he, okay.
That's hilarious.
Matthew just winced like I did. Really?
Yeah.
But I find myself wanting to ask you, it's a tradition in my country that the bride and groom dance on their wedding day. Ooh, what a fun tradition. Angie, is that a Cuban thing that brides and grooms dance on their wedding day?
Yeah, only Cubans do that.
I've learned things about other people's cultures this episode.
Only Cubans ever dance on their wedding day.
And it's not stated he's Cuban, by the way. We have no idea what they're trying to pass him off as here. But
yeah, I know. It's so like, I'm like, where's this guy from? Like,
but he says, although we did not actually get married, would you dance with me?
The music is so nice when he turns it on. I'm like, oh.
And they dance together and they hug close. And then as it goes on, it's so sweet. And then he actually buries his face in his head in her neck.
Oh.
In their final ones. And then, they end with him kissing her on the cheek. But I'm looking at this going, why wasn't this? Why couldn't this have been a new guy Joe is dating? That, she met him through trying to tutor him for Spanish class. And now they started dating, but this thing happened. So it's the no. We're still just dating and we like each other, but we're going to get married.
Yeah.
I feel like this ending was so nice and sweet and poignant. And wouldn't it have been even more powerful if it was we actually like each other and we would otherwise maybe be together under different circumstances. That would make this moment just devastatingly dramatic in the best way possible.
Yeah, I didn't understand that because I was like, oh my God, this is it, like you said, it's so lovely and it was just so sweet. And so I was like, well, obviously he likes her. Like, how long have they known each other? Is this a character that was in other episodes?
No, we've never seen him before. This is a one-off.
Yeah, like they put so much into his emotion towards her before he leaves that I thought you were gonna tell me that he had been in other episodes or something like that. Cause like this is something that would develop, I think, over a little bit. Like, yeah, I wish they would have said how long they were tutoring. It made it seem like this guy was out of nowhere, that she's, you know what I mean? Like they made it seem like that. And I'm like, it doesn't seem like it. He's quite fond of her.
Exactly. They had such a romantic angle to it. Why didn't they?
Yeah, like they did, because they could have done it where he appreciates her because she didn't look at him differently. But in this case, it seemed like it was a romantic feeling toward her. I mean, right?
It's an 80s sitcom episode. There's no continuity how many boys and men did the Golden Girls date throughout the years that we only saw? They'd even, like, from last week's episode, they'd even throw in a line where you've been seeing him for months.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wait, I just saw her last week with another guy. Wait,
yeah,
what?
You're so right.
So
that's not saw you with the other night, Blanche. Yeah, right.
Yeah. By the way, when Matthew did that, you've been seeing him for months, he did the Dorothy B. Arthur hand gesture. And I just want it to be known that he is that much of a purist when it comes to his close personal friend, B. Arthur.
Oh, I love that. Ooh.
So the way it ends is Joe says, look, you can't just run out. Let me see if I can figure something else.
Yeah.
So she runs upstairs, and then very quickly, quick change of scene, she comes running back down, but he's gone. And then there's a letter that he's left behind for her. And we get the cheesy 80s underscore music.
Dear Joe.
Dear Joe. It's his Dear John letter, but Dear Joe.
Yeah.
But basically, he's so noble. He's so nice. He's like, if you help me escape, that would get you in trouble too. So I'm turning myself in. Somehow I'll find a way to return. I know you don't like to say goodbye. So under that case, he deliberately wrote it that way, knowing that she would correct him because he loves her.
And I'm like, come on, how long has she known this guy? He obviously has, like, is head over heels for her. Come on.
Yeah.
Even in that dress.
Yeah. And so he says, I have left you something by the fence. And the very last image of the episode, Joe goes outside, and by the fence is his motorcycle.
And it only works with Joe.
And it only works for her. And Angie, you don't realize this. Joe, always had a bike. It was a part of who she was. She gave it up 4 weeks ago so that they could pay for something expensive. Joe has been without a bike for a month now. So this is actually setting something that was wrong back to being right within the context of the show.
Why does this happen? Why do these individuals that you're like, you should be staying in my life forever and ever, have to just leave, do something like that, and then you're not going to be with him?
I'd be like, I'm keeping this bike. I hope you're coming back for it someday, honey. And then that ain't the only thing that's going to be ridden when we're reunited.
Yes. Oh, gosh. But I was like, come on. He left. Pobrecito.
I mean. Matthew, didn't you text me that you were very touched deeply by this ending of this episode?
I don't know when it started, and I'm already willing to admit, because of the pandemic and everything in the world, I am already 1 second away from tears, no matter what is happening. But I was sobbing at the end of this episode.
Really?
Like I was like, I can't watch Encanto because I'm obviously, if I can't make it through a fucking 86 episode of Facts of Life, I'm not going to be able to make it through this or Coco or And it just killed me that it's not really any different. And when Beverly Ann was giving her speech about aren't we all immigrants? And God, I was just like, Jesus or Jesus, why can't we just
No, you're right. You're totally right. It's like, what, isn't it good that people want to come to our country and, live a life and contributing members of society?
And it all boils down to racism. People don't mind when somebody from Germany comes over. They don't mind, or somebody from the UK, they mind when they're brown. And that is what I just was a mess. This poor, handsome boy how many people have that story? And I just was a mess.
No, it's sad how in many ways it's more topical today. Thankfully, we're past families being separated and, kids in cages, all that awfulness. That's just a blight on our history, our country, and just it's terrible. And
it's awful. Like it is something that we're seeing around like everywhere, and it's I don't know what the solution is, like the total solution, how we can totally. People suck regardless, as far as like even if in other individuals from everywhere, which a lot of places are a melting pot, like there are still individuals that are like totally resistant to others that are not like them. And that's just one thing that is just going to happen. So there's a lot of Enricos going through the same thing. And it's just like, it's a wild thing. Like even I hear like stories that my parents tell me and I'm just like, holy shit, I can't even imagine it. I cannot fathom it at all, so and what people do to get here and stuff like that, and then the poor guy, right, he's working construction, which is already like total hardcore busting your ass. It's such a physical job, and like so, and then he's got to run. Why did they introduce this character before as a friend of George's or somebody that is reoccurring so that they could be friends with a Latino individual?
It would have been great, to have someone in the cast. Thank God we have Tootie. At least it's not a complete cast of white people, but it would have been nice. Thank God next year they really try to up the diversity factor. They add an Australian girl.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on that note, that's at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a little bit weird. But the ending is so sweet. And my biggest wish for this episode is, why didn't they make it just the very early stages of a romantic relationship? And then this is the thing that meant they had to go fast track to wedding, and then worse, fast track to breaking up. There was a lot more potential here, but those last moments, that dance, and then him leaving her the bike, that saved a lot of the flaws that we have heretofore laid out in great detail.
Well, I even thought, he loves you a lot, obviously, because the bike would have helped him get out faster. So he really leaving her the bike was like, See, that's me. That's my thought. I was like, you could have gotten a lot further along with a bike. So you really care for this individual. I get it. It didn't work so much when she wasn't there, but I was like,
And it's not like he could ride the bike back to Cuba, He's gotta
definitely take a different route.
Also, David, we just added Beverly Ann to the cast, for God's sake. We didn't need a boyfriend right off the bat. And also, last week, didn't she meet the love of her life on the ratings game, David?
With a bike and everything. He had a motorcycle. She met Doug, was that his name?
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. It's like, why couldn't they have introduced him sooner? It's like, there was no time.
Maybe she found out he was gay.
Oh, yes. True. We discussed that quite a bit, actually.
All right,
Angie,
kids.
my love, I am so glad we got to do this with you. This has been great. And until the next time, thanks so much. Smooches and goodbye. Mwah. And there you have it. That was Angie Sardiña. Next week, we're going to be watching Season 8, Episode 9, called Fast Food. And our guest is going to be Paul Padilla. You can watch the show ahead of time for free at dailymotion.com. I will post the link in the show notes and on this episode's webpage. That is all for now. Thank you so much for listening to this week's show. And remember, the facts of life are all about you.
Let's Face the Facts was created, produced, written, hosted, and edited by the wonderful David Almeida. Our theme song was beautifully arranged and recorded by Ned Wilkinson. Please visit FaceTheFactsPod.com for supplemental photos and videos, links to social media, and ways that you can support the show. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This is Matthew Arder saying tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of Let's Face the Facts.